Welcome to News Updates on Today Ghana News TV. We are live on the satellite via Twitch for our viewers in Eastern European countries and also on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Today Ghana News TV. We are also on anchor.fm/podcast at Today Ghana News TV. Now the headlines. Ghana's government response to Russia-Ukraine conflict. 56 years of the overthrow of the first president of Ghana, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We have these and other stories coming your way. My name is Edna Segbornya. In our first story, Ghana's permanent representative to the United Nations, Harold Agyemang, says Ghana is maintaining its support for Ukraine and the respect for the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Delivering a statement at the United Nations Security Council on the crisis in Ukraine, he said the situation in Ukraine is troubling and leaves not just the immediate neighbors, but all countries of the world insecure. He said the developments that are taking place in Ukraine are indeed troubling. The situation has implications not only for Ukraine and its immediate neighbors, but also for all other countries. In another development, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has announced through a statement that they will be meeting families and relatives of Ghanaians trapped in Ukraine at the International Conference Center in Accra.
Dialogue was being called for. We were monitoring the overtures being made by both sides and others calling for dialogue, and at every given time it seemed like that was going to work. And if you listen to international media, they're also saying the same thing, that nobody thought that we'll get to this point. So yes, maybe that media house predicted, but I'm telling you that from what was happening on the ground, it was not expected. That's all I can say there. Do you have an official number, as in the embassy, the consulate? I went to great lengths to say that those who travel out of the country, who make themselves available, who give their information, we have it. There is no way that any embassy of any country will know the number of its citizens unless the citizens make themselves available and let them know that we are here. We are in London, we are in Manchester, we are in Kyiv, we are in Lviv. If they don't make themselves available and to tell you, you would never know. And that's why I said that it's in situations like this that you get to know the importance of that. So we do not have an exact number of Ghanaians who are there. We wish we could. We wish we did. But that's not the case. Even with students, it is only through this exercise that we are able to get the student list, the full student list. The males, I said that some males are rumored to be having challenges. I explained it. These are just rumors. Some males in crossing, it is rumored are having challenges. So far, I have not had any confirmation of this, but I thought I should mention it because we are all hearing this without any confirmation, and yet at the same time we are getting our students crossing over, and the only reason why it's taking time is because of the sheer numbers of people who are trying to cross over. Yes, we do have very cordial relations with Russia. Russia is a country we very much appreciate and we value the strong relations that exist between our two countries. As soon as this thing started unfolding, we invited the Russian ambassador to the ministry. We had very cordial engagements with him, interaction with him. He assured us that our students will be safe. Our preoccupation in all of this is the citizens of Ghana and nothing else. Yes, we are part of a committee of nations, and therefore what happens elsewhere should be of concern to us. But when this started unfolding, we had our first responsibility was to the Ghanaian citizens, and we had a very fruitful discussion with the Russian ambassador, who assured us that they will do all they can to enable our students crossover. What role did we play to prevent what we are witnessing? God has been so good to us. We are a member of the Security Council. We made statements, and if you were you are paying attention to this whole thing, you realize that it's about dialogue. We called for dialogue. We warned about the humanitarian consequences of this. We were talking about safety and security of all citizens, especially our citizens. These are the things that you can talk about. We encourage dialogue and peaceful resolution of the.
Joining us to speak to us on Ghana's government's position on the conflicts in Ukraine is Mr. Richard Kumado, a security consultant. Sir, thank you once again for joining us.
You're welcome, Edna.
Okay. The government of Ghana has expressed its support to the government and people of Ukraine. Do you support the government stance, or you think it's premature?
To the extent that we have a seat on the UN Security General Council, even though we are just there as a witness and we are not permanent member of the UN Security Council, it's important we make a statement. And the actual content of the statement is the worry of everybody that wars, whether they are legitimate or illegitimate, have some consequential effects on all of us, whether you are directly part of it or not. But the statement from ECOWAS rather carry more weight than what our brothers seem to be saying on the UN Security General Council. And to that extent, we will understand the emotions involved and the sympathy to one country or the other. You also heard the Minister of Foreign Affairs say that we have a very good relationship with Russia. Russia has been of good to Ghana and to many African countries. The complexity of what is happening in Ukraine can only be understood by people who understand geopolitics and have history at hand. Other than that, you may be making statements that may not seem right.
Okay. So what are the implications for Ghana supporting Ukraine as against Russia?
I don't really think we were supporting Ukraine. We are only saying that Ukraine is the junior brother and Russia needs to temper justice with mercy. But if we should go with the intent of supporting Ukraine, we might be shooting our feet in the wrong place and we might be tempering with issues we really don't understand. And if Russia decided to come after us, that could create many more problems for us. And I think we should be treading cautiously because these are early days yet.
Mm. Okay, but Ghana still has its citizens trapped in Ukraine. If the Russians gain control of the capital, won't it be difficult for Ghana to rescue its citizens?
And definitely, that is why diplomatic relations are so important. The distance between Ukraine and Russia is not too far. We could move them to safety, and the Russian government, considering the relationship we have with them, they would allow students passage or get hold of Ukraine officials and get hold of Poland, get hold of Hungary, Belarus, Romania, and all the countries that are nearby, and let our students pass before the city begin to get bombarded in a very huge, large numbers. Other than that, we'll have many more questions to answer. Why we did not take advantage of the 1 week to get our students out of the place. This also shows that when we are appointing ambassadors, we need to be careful who we appoint as an ambassador. Then again, we as citizens, how we relate with our ambassadors and our consulates and our embassies in foreign countries is so important. You will be surprised that the many years I stay in London, not many Ghanaians know where our embassies are, and they just live anyhow. They don't know anything. The ambassadors don't also care about our people so much. And I think it is time we need to look at that position again and create a fair balance where people will take our embassy seriously and ambassadors will also take our citizens seriously, because these are stressed and we need each other to survive.
Okay, sure. But do you think there will be any effect between Ghana and Russia relationship regarding to this conflict?
Definitely, if our ministers, government ministers, begin to speak in a manner that angers them, the benefits you are getting from there, you wouldn't get it. Remember, we have a whole chunk of people, medical doctors that are being trained by Russia, not just in the area of medicine, but in some other places. These are free scholarships. And once you anger them and you temper with your diplomatic relations with them, you wouldn't get it. And Russia, in terms of military, have also been of support to many African countries, including Ghana, not just military and academia. But you know, in Africa, many of your budget support is supported by many of these international partners. And we need to tread cautiously so that you don't anger one. Remain in the middle there, because this war has more to do with geopolitics, has more to do with America and Russia, has more to do with a hidden agenda, and it is not in the surface as we are seeing it now.
Yeah. Okay. But looking at the current happenings now, do you think Ghana can send a direct flight to rescue its trapped citizens in Ukraine?
Definitely, once we get them out of Ukraine to Poland or Hungary or Romania or Poland, then we can use that passage to fly them to maybe London and pick them from there, or get them to Denmark and pick them from there, or get them to Switzerland or any of those countries, maybe South Korea, and we could pick them from there, because getting them out of Ukraine might be a bit more difficult and it can create some passage issues for us. But what we can do is to coordinate them and let them get out of the place. And once they are out of the place, our officials should be liaising with some other nations and let them give us the passage. All we want is that our students and our nationals must leave the place before the untoward story begin to happen. And in diplomatic terms, I think those things are allowed, and we must take advantage of it before it becomes too late.
Okay. But does this whole war thing seems to be ending soon? Does it look like it's something that will end soon?
There was supposed to be a meeting yesterday. We are all waiting to hear the outcome of the meeting. Coming Thursday will be 1 week when the war started. And it's the outcome of the meeting that will determine the next line of action. If it becomes a full-fledged war or a full-scale war, then that may speed up a little bit. But where there are dialogue and there are concessions, then the Russians will want to hold back and see whether people will live to expectations. If that is not done, then they may increase their air power and they may call for a little bit more support. And once that is done, it's going to be a hell lot of time, and we need to pray.
Okay. Do you have anything more to add?
I'm just saying that wars, whether they are legitimate or illegitimate, the consequences and the ramifications on human life and agriculture and finance and everything is just too much. That is why dialogue and diplomacy is important. This whole idea about America being superpower, somebody else being superpower, and they trade it on the life of human beings, I think it is a whole time we stop it, because these days the number of weapons people have and the terrains are different. Anything that will lead to the Third World War could create many more problems for us.
Thank you very much for always responding to our calls.
You're welcome. God bless.
That was Mr. Richard Kumado, a security consultant. Moving on, a public forum to commemorate 56 years of the overthrow of the first president of Ghana, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, dubbed Ghana's Day of Shame, was held in Accra. The event, which was organized by the Socialized Forum of Ghana, lamented about the poor state of Ghana's economy after the coup on February 26, 1966. Speaking at the event was NDC 2020 presidential running mate Professor Jane Nana Opoku, highlighted on some achievements of the founder of Ghana.
Efficiently to show profits that to be plowed back. Nkrumah gave special attention to the modernization of agriculture so that a greater yield and a diversity of crops could be produced. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this industrial drive by Nkrumah remains unsurpassed to this day. The construction of many new plants was undertaken under his watch, and many industrial activities. These include the steel works, cocoa processing plants, sugar factories, textile printing plants, shoe, asbestos, gold factory, cement, rubber, type factories, paint, glass, name it, a radio assembly plant, and a large printing works. There was an ongoing atomic reactor, just to mention a few. The basic policy underlying this plant was to change the structure of our mainly agricultural raw material economy into a balanced modern economy, and this was going ahead with speed and efficiency. We were successfully managing to use our local raw materials for establishing these industries, and were beginning to satisfy local demand for certain consumer goods. For example, Ghana produced matches, nails, sweets, soft drinks, chocolate, whiskey, beer, gin, cigarettes, biscuits, canned fruit, insecticides, and many more. And of course, these came and supported many jobs that attracted both Ghanaians and others from the region and beyond. So there was from the seed to the table, and the whole value chain employed people, just as we were trying to do with the Commander Sugar Factory. These remain examples of a roadmap towards economic independence, producing your needs, looking at how much you have and living within it, and expanding the means of production so you don't go begging all the time.
The Member of Parliament for South Song, Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, is continuing his campaign on the neglect of the presidential jet by President Akufo-Addo and his continuous hiring of most expensive, luxurious jets.
Please check the Parliamentary Hansard. We were told that a presidential jet has a lifespan of a minimum 20 years. So 2010, when the aircraft arrived, plus 20 years, that gives you 200, it gives you from now to 2030, from 2010 to 2030. That's minimum 20 years. Now, we all know that with these aircrafts, if your maintenance regime is good, if you take good care of the aircraft, that minimum 20 years, you can even double it. Our Ghana Air Force, the Communications Squadron, which is in charge of presidential jets, is celebrated the world over for their high maintenance culture. We all know that. If you take in Ghana's history, this is our 4th presidential jet. The Fokker 28, which Achampong purchased for us in the 1970s. Our Air Force has been able to take very good care of Fokker 28 for well over 35 years. So even this minimum period of 20 years, you can see that it's very generous. It can go beyond that. Now, I am even more fortified in the position I take that the minimum period of 20 years could even exceed that, because a country like Namibia, a Falcon, theirs is a much older version. Ours was a newer version, the 900 EXE. The Namibians bought the 700 EX. And all of this information is available online. Viewers can check if I'm peddling any falsehood. So the Namibians bought theirs in 1990. They are still using it. Ours arrived 2010, and we are making excuses. Excuses that are unfounded, that are baseless. excuses that we have asked. You say that these claims are coming from experts. We have been asking in Parliament. Tell us who those experts are. Let us see the evidence of experts telling you that don't use this aircraft for a long-range travel. Up to now, they cannot tell us. They cannot produce or adduce any evidence to that effect. Now, the Namibians, President Gengop of Namibia, is using a Falcon 700 EX, which they bought in 1990. They are still using it. The last UN General Assembly, when I tracked, and I've been tracking this, I have the systems to track this. President Gengop of Namibia used their Falcon, which they bought in 1990. Over a 30-year Falcon. He used it to New York, to the General Assembly meeting. Only in September, a few months ago. All these meetings the president is attending. That's what the Namibian president, President Gengop, has been using. Take President Macron of France. His aircraft that he's using now also arrived in 2010, the same year our presidential jet arrived. President Macron of France is still using his presidential jet, which arrived in 2010, the same year, 12-year-old aircraft. That is what President Macron used when he visited Ghana in 20.
That's what we eat for tonight. But before I go, I would read some of our Facebook messages. From Joyce Ohinuwa Kwapon, watching you live from Accra. Thank you, Joyce. From Sweet Mother Tete, good evening. Good evening. From VIS Ghana, Mr. Richard Commodore is very articulating and knowledgeable. Thank you. From Sylvia and Edna, you are doing great. Thank you, Sylvia. From Patience Darko, welcome back, Edna, and your team. You are looking beautiful, and I love your interview. Thank you. Okay, so that is it. But don't forget to follow and subscribe to our social media platforms. That is YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch at Today Ghana News TV. My name is Edna Segbornya. Have a good evening.